I don't know what happened. Hello, everybody. Hello. Let's get you up here. What
Was it
happened?
something I said?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I think
Craig,
they dubbed,
Craig.
but it's okay. Actually, it works better for my editing, so now I can edit it.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay, cool.
so this is actually perfect. Thank you.
All
And
right.
hello, everybody. Welcome to the Geeks Book Club. My name is Felicia Day.
Oh, I'm Bonnie Burton.
Yeah, sorry, I maybe teed you up there. I'm so professional. And we
That's
are
okay.
to be here this month for September. Septiembre.
Yay, book club.
How are you doing, Bonnie?
I'm a little overwhelmed with lots of work going. I mean, I work at Hunt a Killer Games, where I
Yes.
get to write very immersive, elaborate murder mysteries.
Mhm, mhm.
Our staff is a lot smaller due to people quitting and layoffs and stuff. So
Oh.
we used to have 12 writers. Now we just have 2.
Oof.
And we're doing the same amount of games.
Oh,
So
that's a lot of work.
yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, I think we have contractors and coming to help us out at some point, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. And I can't tell you what the games are going to be about because of NDA stuff, but I will tell you, you will know when the press release comes out which game I wrote very specifically from what it's about.
Oh, boy. It's like a murderous crafter or something like that?
No. What I mean, I have a lot of interests. There are other interests I have that are creepy.
You have a lot of interest, Bonnie, and that's why you're such a fascinating, awesome person.
It's if you follow my Instagram, which is Bonnie Girl, that's what I use for Twitter and everything.
It's gotta
Uh,
be taxidermy related then, huh?
no, but if you look at
What?
if you like, I mean, my Instagram has a lot of taxidermy, but the game has other creepy things that I collect. So you can,
Mhm.
yeah.
Books?
So
Okay, what do you, let's see, books,
you don't have to guess
taxidermy.
now. You don't have to guess
Alright.
now. I did ask to do a taxidermy game, and I think it was too gruesome what I was proposing.
Too gruesome.
It was
That's
based
exactly
off
what
of
people want.
it was based off of a I can't remember if it was a creep show episode or if it was a Tales from the Dark Side. Do you remember that TV show that was like late at night in the 80s and 90s that had creepy? It was like Tales from the Dark Side was like creep show but without the like mascot.
Hmm.
Anyway, there's a character that he's a taxidermist and he's just really horrible and mean to his wife, and he ends up taxiderming her yippy yappy Pomeranian.
Oh god.
Basically kills her dog and then taxidermists it taxi, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And then spoiler alert, close your ears if you don't want to hear what happens. Count to 10 or something.
it's
But then
okay.
she gets her revenge by killing him and taxiderming him. Which
Ew!
I think is
Okay,
justified.
okay.
If someone kills your dog, that's justified.
For sure.
I
I agree.
I think there should be a law that if someone kills your pets,
Mhm.
you're allowed to kill them. Like, did you watch that John McAfee documentary
I
on
did not, but I heard it was amazing.
oh my god, so it's on Netflix. It's crazy. This guy is crazy. He's like the Hunter S. Thompson level crazy.
Mhm.
He did the McAfee virus scan software and sold
And
it
then he
to
made billions of dollars. He bought like he owns an island in Hawaii, right?
yeah, like he basically I don't remember how many billions Intel bought it for. I think it was $17 billion.
Yeah. He's
Um,
very rich, but very
very, very rich. But when you are very rich and very narcissistic, you
Uh-huh.
tend to think of yourself as God and you can get away with anything. Anyway, he lived in like
Mhm.
Bahamas, or not Bahamas, Belize. And had a
Belize. He lived in Belize, right? And he murdered
yeah.
somebody?
Well, he murdered his neighbor because his neighbor complained about his dogs, and then suddenly all his dogs were poisoned.
Oh,
And he's like,
no.
"Oh, my neighbor did it. I'm gonna kill this guy." Because he had to shoot his own
Oh.
dogs to put them out of their misery because it was like they
What?
would yeah, I guess it was some sort of poison that was like you can't take a
Oh,
pill or something.
no. Oh,
So
no. I mean, that's
he John
horrible,
Wick
but
he John Wicked his neighbor.
Jesus.
But then I was like, that's the only thing I cared about in that documentary was the dogs. And then every
Yeah.
time he went on the run, he had a whole brand new bunch of dogs with him. Like
What
even
it
when he
what
went on the run
where'd
with
the
the and
dogs go to?
I don't
Do
know.
dogs every time?
New dogs every time. And they were on the yacht with him. I'm like, where are these dogs now? So if I put the question out on Twitter. No one's answered me, but
Nobody can answer you because they probably just got dumped at a pound, even though they were
I
billionaire
don't
dogs and
know.
now they're, like, in the pound.
I always wonder what happens to evil people's dogs or like celebrities that go crazy. Like, what happens to their like? I was very concerned about the Queen's corgis.
Oh, I
I
know. I mean,
not
they're gonna be fine though, those dogs,
well,
but yeah, you
I don't
don't
know.
think so?
Are they going to Fergie or are they going to Prince Andrew? Because Prince
Oh,
Andrew, as you know, has Jeffrey Epstein ties.
we do not want them to go to Andrew.
No, Fergie's fine
What
now.
what what, you don't think Kate will keep him?
Hey,
This I bet if we searched about this,
nah,
then we'd actually get an
I
answer.
don't know. She seems like high maintenance, like everything has to be in its place type of person.
All right, Queen Corgi, who owns now, okay? This is good2.com. It's okay, the Queen's Corgis, how many dogs we actually are gonna talk about a book this month, but
Yeah,
how
yeah,
many
yeah.
dogs
But
does the Queen have and who will
season
look
two,
after them
right?
now?
Just two.
Okay, so 30 she had 30 dogs during her 7 and by the way, my daughter wants a Corgi more than
They
anything.
are really smart dogs. They are very smart, and they're very good with kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty I mean, I'm going to adopt one, I mean, listen,
Yeah, don't
I've
stop.
reached the age where I'm like, I'm not gonna judge people
Go
if they
just
buy a dog.
go to Pasadena Humane Society, do the wiggle walk or whatever. Go get one.
Yeah, so, yes. So, okay, so did Queen Elizabeth get new dogs? She got a new dog in January 2022, it's Lissy. She's a
Yeah.
four-year-old Cocker Spaniel. Oh god, that's weird.
Oh, she totally went off script.
She went off
Okay.
script. Okay, Fergus passed away,
Yeah.
I guess,
Oh.
but, okay, so
Well,
let's see, who will look after the Queen's do oh, here it is. The Queen's son, Prince Andrew, and his daughter, Princess
no!
Beatrice, will take custody of the Queen's 2
He
corgis
can't
and
be
Dorgie.
trusted.
A
Give
new
him
owner
to
for Cock
Harry. Give
but
him to
no
Prince Harry.
a new owner for Cocker Spaniel Lissy is yet to be decided.
Me. I wonder
Oh,
is there a
no.
sign up?
I don't know. I don't they're gonna take
Okay.
care of the corgis, Muick and Sandy, but the Dorgie Candy will go live with them because they
I
like
don't
each other.
know. I mean, dogs are really adaptable, but I don't know if they'd like my poor writer lifestyle.
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, they won't get their own swimming pool or anything. Like I don't know what
Yeah,
they were used to.
yeah.
I mean, when I got my dog, we originally lived in Santa Cruz in the mountains. So she had like a whole mountain to herself. Then when I moved to San Francisco, it was like, enjoy your tiny backyard. And she adapted fine because I was the main attraction, not the yard.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, thank God Golden Gate Park was right there, or else I don't know. My dog
I know.
may have caused a
Okay,
meeting.
I want you
Okay.
to listen to this, and then we're gonna talk about this book. The
Okay.
Queen's
Okay.
corgis once lived in a special corgi room at Buckingham Palace. A chef that said, they sleep in little wicker baskets in the corgi room and are looked after by 2 footmen called Doggy 1 and Doggy 2. That's what
I
they
want
called
that
them.
job. I want that job.
The sheets in the wicker baskets were refreshed daily, and the pampered pooches were served fresh food for the dinner, prepared and served by the staff. Meals consisted of rabbit, chicken, liver, beef, cabbage, and rice. Everything was cut into a fine dice, and there were no bones in there. Okay?
Cabbage.
Wow.
I bet those dogs
Wow.
fart constantly.
I don't know. I'm a little concerned
Cabbage.
about the attitude of these dogs, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Ugh.
they're probably very uppity.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, probably you're right. They
So,
would probably
how has your September been, Bonnie,
oh,
before we get into this wonderful book?
it's been good. Like I said, work's been kind of crazy trying to I mean, I've just been writing a lot of fake autopsy reports and
Oh, that's so cool, though.
it's actually really cool because the more autopsies you write, the more you realize, oh, they really do weigh everything. Like they weigh
Yeah.
everything. And
So like, how do they do that? They just take, like, organs out and weigh them or
one by
what?
one by one, and they weigh them and then they dissect them. And then there's all these different tests they do. And then if you want a toxicology test, you have to ask for specific things. They don't just do, it's kind of like when you go to the doctor and you get a blood test for general stuff. But if you want to like get tested for celiac or get
Mhm.
tested for, I don't know, thyroid issues, you have
Mhm,
to have a
mhm.
wholly different test done. So
Yeah.
for toxicology, you can't just say, okay, I did a toxicology report, nothing came back. Like you have to ask for like
You have to
GBH,
have
ketamine,
precise measurements. Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, like fentanyl, whatever. And then, or whatever poisons, because poisons don't always show up on a basic test. You have to do a different test for different poisons.
Mhm, mhm.
So yeah, so I've been doing that. And also I've been kind of thinking up different ways to bury bodies that are not easy to find. So I
Love
mean,
it.
here's the thing. My job is perfect for me now. I finally at this age, I found a job that
You found something that's perfect. I mean, it truly is
perfect.
perfect for you.
The only thing that would be more perfect is if I was an actual detective, but at least with this, I get to
Yeah.
control the outcome, so it's not as frustrating as being an actual detective.
Mhm, mhm.
And my killers are always caught, so it's not very
Yeah.
time stuff. It's like killer's still on the loose, or killer got the hung jury,
I
or
mean, also
somebody in the town.
a real life detective, that would be a hard job to have
It's a
because
lot more
there's
paperwork
probably
than you think.
exactly, and you're
Yeah,
sitting out in a car half the day. The
yeah,
action is you'd have to definitely edit the day down to get the interesting stuff, and then
yeah.
basically a lot of it is just really boring. That's what I feel like
Yeah,
about
and
detective work.
you're not allowed to do any of the forensics. So all those
Yeah.
cop shows where the cops are like dicking around in the crime scene, no way.
Mhm,
Those
mhm.
forensics people
Yep.
would kill you if you went anywhere near that. And then I think it matters if you're in a small town. Maybe there's more like you're more hands on because there's just not enough people to do the
Yeah.
job. But like when
Mhm.
you watch those like great detective shows that take place in the middle of nowhere, Scotland or Wales, like Shetland, they don't have a huge police department, so they have to
Yeah.
like do a lot of different stuff. Same thing with
So
Longmire.
they're less boring. So a small
Mhm.
town cop would be more exciting to be than a big town cop.
Yeah, but then you also have to worry about corruption's a lot more prevalent in small towns.
True, true.
Uh, Racism is huge in small town. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
it's
really
racism
bad, yeah.
everywhere. Racism and misogyny and homophobia are everywhere, but
I know, but
it's in small towns.
when you're less exposed to people who are not like you, then you're going to be more judgmental of differences
Yeah,
and more
I just got
clannish.
hooked on a new show. It's not so new, but it's called Mystery Road. It's Australian and it's about an Aborigine detective, and he has
Mhm.
to deal with
Oh, that's cool.
that kind of racism in Australia, which I'm not that familiar with Australia culture. So it's interesting to see, and they're all about cowboy culture there. So it's just very interesting to see like rodeo culture in Australia. I mean, it makes sense.
Oh,
But
that's cool.
anyway, so my September's mostly been writing really detailed autopsy reports and police reports and trying to figure out how to bury bodies in different ways and kill people with different poisons and not get caught.
Your Google
So
search is like basically a crime scene.
I will tell you though, I've learned not to bring this up with Lyft or Uber drivers anymore because I did get a ride home the other day from a Lyft and we were talking about my job and I was telling him how people don't really know how to bury bodies successfully and you really should mix it up with bleach and cement and then, and then you have to dig a hole really, really deep, not just sort of deep. And he
Yeah.
stopped me and he's like, "You do realize you're telling a perfect stranger how to kill you and bury you and get away with it, right?" And I'm like,
Mm, mhm, mhm.
"Oh."
Yeah. I also I
Uh,
don't trust any driver that much to actually give them the keys because
yeah,
I'm always I don't know if you're
yeah.
like this, but I'm always paranoid that they're gonna take me somewhere that I'm not supposed to go, so I constantly am on my phone pretending to look at it, but I'm really just tracking on
Wow, that happened to me
a
the
route.
other day. Someone took it was like a after midnight ride, and he went not anywhere near my house, and I'm like, are we lost?" And the only reason I knew we were lost is I was looking around, I didn't recognize anything, and also Uber does this thing that if your driver goes off
Mhm.
the requested path that they give the driver, they
Yeah.
send you a text and ask you if you're okay.
Oh, that's great.
And I almost said no because this guy was kind of creeping me out a bit, but I didn't think he was going to kill me. I thought he was just pulling the, "Oh, I got caught up in the conversation and went off the path by accident" scam because then they can charge you more. I didn't think of, "Oh, he's going to murder me." I thought,
Oh, okay. I always think murder, but that's okay. Okay.
yeah, I don't think I'm that murderable. Like it would
You
be really
are,
hard to
Bonnie.
kill me.
Don't say that about yourself.
No, no, I'm
You're
not saying
very
I'm not
murderable.
I'm not saying I'm not worthy of being murdered. I'm just saying it would take a lot of effort to bury me. You know what I mean? If they cared about hiding my body, they might not. But
I
it's
feel like
just
you have a nice, you would be
it's
fun
also
to
really
kind of
hard to drag. It's hard to drag a heavy body. I'm a big girl, so
yeah,
it's not easy to drag a body. Most people are really, "Oh, I'll just kill them," but then you're
yeah.
like, you do realize you have to drag them to a car, and then if they're
Oh,
already in
it's
the
a
car,
lot of work. Yeah.
you still have to drag them to the burial site. Like, you can't just or drag them to your basement or
No, it's a
it's not
lot
like
more
I have
work than you need to have a dolly ready. You need to,
yeah,
not lift
or a
you gotta lift with your
wheelbarrow.
knees. You need to bend
Yeah.
over. You can't get a back it's a lot. You need to really be aware
Something
of
with
your body.
pulleys, a lever, a catapult, something. You
Mhm.
can't. How great would that be if it was a catapult and they just
A catapult
catapult
would be
me
good.
catapult me into the Grand Canyon? That would be a good because there's so much wildlife there. They'd never find me. There's
No,
a
no,
lot of bodies that have been buried in Griffith Park. I think we talked
really?
about this before, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, you did. You mentioned that. Well,
Yeah,
Lake
yeah.
Mead. Lake Mead, everybody keeps popping
Yep,
up, you know?
yep. It's all you need is a deep lake, and just remember if you're gonna do that, you have to puncture the body a lot, or else the gases will make them.
Oh, puncture the body. So, like, you need a hole all the way through the body like Swiss cheese?
Yeah, Swiss cheese them all the way through their main organs, or else the gases will float their body up, and it doesn't matter if they have cement shoes because they'll just rip off their ankles and float to the top.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
that's your
this is
that's your
see,
pro
pro
murder
tip,
tip for
y'all.
the day. Yep, that's the pro murder tip for the day. But no, my September's been pretty well, still COVID free, thank God.
Oh, thank God.
But I also don't go anywhere except to go Halloween shopping. So
Did you I mean, my daughter is
did
Halloween crazy. She is Halloween obsessed, and the front yard is already full, but it's only half of what we actually have.
did you get the giant skeleton?
Um, no, not the
The
giant
12-footer?
one, but we do yeah. I,
I mean,
I definitely, have I become all those people I used to sneer at, okay?
really?
So yes, absolutely. I'm
Well, I
that
will tell
person.
you, if you want good Halloween stuff, do it now because all the Christmas stuff's coming out now.
I know, but I love Christmas stuff. See, I'm a Christmas
Do
person
you
and
really?
she's a Halloween
Oh,
person, so I put the
well,
Halloween
Halloween
stuff
stuff
early so I could tear it down and put up the Christmas tree November 1st. Yes, I am that
well,
person.
you could just do what I do and make tiny little Santa hats for all your Halloween stuff and just put Santa hats on all the Halloween stuff.
Yeah. Well, I kinda like that idea.
That's
We
an
just keep
idea.
it out there, Nightmare Before Christmas kinda thing?
Yeah. I mean, I've
Okay.
got skeletons all over my apartment and taxidermy, so I just make little tiny Santa hats for them. That reminds
Aw.
me, I need to get a custom made Santa or gingerbread Ouija board made because I have one for pretty much every holiday. I have a Ouija board for every holiday except for Christmas. I need to do that still.
Oh,
Oh,
boy. Okay, let's get into this book because we
oh
do
yeah.
have some
Okay.
stuff to cover.
Oh yeah, the
The
book.
book
The book.
is called, let me get it
Memory
right.
called Empire.
Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martine, and this author is she is very fascinating. But
She is.
let me read the, description of the book. Let's see, I'm not ready.
Uh-oh.
I'm not ready. Oh, it's a science fiction novel from 2019. It follows Mahit Dismare, the ambassador from Lizelle Station, to the Teixcalani. Wait,
We're just gonna mispronounce
Teixcalani.
everything. Yeah, just nickname it.
Yeah, the
Call it
Tex.
Texas.
I call it
Texie.
Texas. So just Texas
That's fine.
Empire.
Just call
She
it Texas.
investigates the death of her predecessor and the instabilities that underpin the society. It won a Hugo Award. It won many, many, many different awards,
Yeah,
and is
Hugo's the big one.
yep, 2020 Hugo Award for Best Novel. And it's a big boy. It's 462 pages, but it is good. And
Mhm.
I picked it out because I've had it on my to do reading list because I've been wanting to, and I wanted sci-fi as a kind of different mix it up from the books that we've been reading. Bonnie,
Yep.
what did you think of this book?
I liked it. As you know, I'm not a big sci-fi reader unless it's got some supernatural elements to it. So I at first, when I read the summary of what the book was about, I'm like, oh God, it's gonna
Yeah.
be a lot of confusing words, confusing cultures. But the more because also I have attention deficit, and sometimes it's just hard for me to concentrate on a book
Yeah, yeah.
that's or that has like a I don't want to call it like a Game of Thrones type thing where you have to remember lot of moving parts.
Mhm.
This one was not that complicated in that sense. So it's like I didn't need a map. You know, as soon as I
Mhm.
know there's a map at the beginning of the book, I know I'm in trouble. But the
Yeah.
thing this did have though was a glossary, which is also equally troubling because I like to be in the zone when I read, and if I come across a made up word that then I have to go and look it up, it stops me. It takes me out of the story, which I hate. I hate to be taken out of the
Mhm.
story. So I usually
Yeah.
just gloss over those words, like I just kind of ignore them and just get meaning from them out of context, you know, in the context of the sentence.
Yeah.
But
No, no,
no,
no,
I
it's
really
true. The
like it.
nomenclature does create a higher bar to entry for sci-fi,
Well, this
especially
is the
when this book
problem.
is very much out there in the
Oh
sort
yeah.
of some of the world building,
No,
but I kind of dug it because it was very classical almost in nature. and
Well,
almost a
it's
fantasy world.
yeah, and it's I mean, you as you said, the author of this book's very interesting. She's a historian in oh god.
Byzantine
Byzantine
experts.
Byzantine.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a Byzantine historian, and she's an urban planner, which I thought was a very
Yep.
interesting mix.
And she got her
That
undergraduate in religious studies and a
and so does
master's in Armenian studies at Oxford,
yeah,
and
so
then a
does
PhD
Armenian. Yep.
in medieval Byzantine, global and comparative history. So,
Yeah, this person's very smart, and you could tell that it was like I almost feel like sometimes people who are getting their PhDs and things like that, whether it's history or cultural languages or things like that, they tend to have this creative side that they
mhm,
can't stick in their PhD thesis, so they just have all these notes, perfect for writing fiction. So it's
mhm,
like
mhm.
I'm surprised more historians and more language experts and more people and more urban planners don't write novels because they're perfect for that because they're experts in world building, and for world building you need to know brand new culture, brand new language, brand new history, and brand new
Yeah.
everything. So it's
Yeah, I
but
mean,
you
I
can
could
tell her background was coming into the book for sure.
I think, yeah, I mean, you can always see a world building author versus a plot author versus a character
Yeah.
author, and she
Yeah.
definitely had a nice blend of all three. I loved the
Oh
characters.
yeah.
I thought they were really interesting. The world building was, I will say it was a little off putting. I mentioned this in the chat about the book in the Geeks Book
Uh-huh.
Club chat that I almost was like regretting picking the book because the first
Oh no.
chapter is really archly written and it's very, just dense. And I had a hard time getting through it. But
Yeah.
once you got through that hump, you're really just on a roller coaster ride of essentially a mystery and some really cool world building. You're like, wow, this is really awesome. So yeah, the initial chapter was not the best entry into the world, but like after that, it's really awesome.
Yeah, once you get into it, I mean, I think a lot of heady sci-fi is like that. So it's like once,
Yes.
whether it's Asimov or Ursula, what's her last Gwyn,
Le Guin,
oh my,
Le Guin,
Le Guin,
Gwyn,
Le
Le
Guin,
Guin.
Le Guin, or even no, I don't want to say Gaiman because Gaiman's very story character driven, but I will say that
Well, Ian
any,
Banks and Peter
yeah,
Hamilton. I mean, it's just sometimes this is my problem. I tend to gravitate toward female-driven sci-fi because they actually are way better at characterization and conflict and relationships, which
oh yeah,
because, for example, Peter Hamilton, I just can't get through. It's just not for me. It's just very,
yeah,
very dense, and it takes so much work to just get under the skin of the characters because really the world building is so much more important. I
yeah.
hope I'm saying that author right. But yeah, just those dense sci-fi novels are just really hard to um, really get into for me as well, Bonnie.
Yeah, but I will say it did get me in right away. Oh, by the way, if you hear knocking on the somewhere, I have a new neighbor that is like always chopping things.
What
Hopefully
are they
not a body.
chopping?
I don't know, but it's like I always hear them chopping on their cutting board, and I can't figure out where it's coming from. It's really unnerving every time I hear it because
Oh
I'm like,
boy.
of course
Ugh.
I go straight to Dahmer, and I'm sure they're just doing vegetables. But okay,
I
anyway,
hope it. I hope
um,
maybe they're doing meal prep for the week and they're just
yeah,
chopping
meal
100
prep,
carrots.
not yeah, I mean, that Dahmer was doing meal prep too, but okay, we won't go there. Uh, I will say that this book got me in the beginning because it starts with a murder mystery, which I thought was
Yes.
very interesting because her
Well, did you ever
predecessor.
read did you ever read Anne Leakey? Or I think that's how you name her. Leakey. She does these
Oh,
sort of like same kind of sci-fi books as this, very much in the same vein as this author, which they're
uh-huh,
like really out there. It's like progressive sci-fi worlds, a lot of world building, very gender fluid and
yeah,
female kind of protagonists, but still really in the vein of traditional sci-fi, huge, very innovative and imaginative world building, and so that's why I love this
mhm.
book because I loved Anne Leakey's book. Anyway, keep going. We start with a murder.
Yeah. So like so the main character, and by the way, I'm gonna destroy all these names because I'm horrible at figuring out how to pronounce things. But our
Yes.
main character, Mahit,
Mahit? Yeah, I
is
think.
yeah. So she comes from a mining station called Lizelle, and
Mhm.
she is replacing the ambassador from Lizelle that is at we're calling it Texas, but I think it's called Texalani Empire. Texacolani.
Texcalon,
Texa
Texcalon.
Texaco. It's Texaco, Texas. So she is going to I hate to call it Texas though, because it's not anything like Texas, as you know.
She's going. It's
But
basically it's the middle of an empire, like a really huge sprawling
it's an
empire that
empire
takes
that
over places.
it's an empire that's very culturally driven by literature and poetry. I would not say
Mhm.
Texas is like that. So I would say, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, so she is replacing the ambassador who has been killed, murdered.
Mysteriously killed. Yeah.
Mysteriously killed, aka murder. And she goes to this planet, and it's interesting because like her station, the Lizelle station, is this independent space station because her people don't have a planet. They have always
Mhm.
lived on this space station,
Yeah.
and it's very tech driven, but also it's very very different than where she's going to. Whereas this empire she's going to, they're all about language and storytelling and literature, and it's all important to them. And their culture is about, they basically do expand into other regions using their culture, and they're just, it's kind of like you're going from reading, it's not like working at Radio Shack and then going to like the Met. Like I'm trying to think of like
Yeah,
I'm trying
it's
to think
also
of a good
like, but
analogy.
it's
Like
also
she's a
like McDonald's almost, because
yeah,
you go to another place and the culture has invaded and they've been taking over. So they're very
it's
they
like if the
conquer
New Yorker.
culturally.
It's like if
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the difference from reading Wired to the New Yorker. That's a better analogy. So it's like she's going from like a tech driven place that's very tiny and
Mhm.
very, that's her culture. But the interesting thing is the youth at Lizelle Station, where she's from, Lizelle Station, I'm sorry. The youth are really into the culture of the Texas Empire,
Yeah.
Texicali,
Texas.
whatever empire.
Teixcatli, yeah.
To the point that,
Sorry.
like, they have their own, which I thought this was funny. They had their own fan fiction for the movies from that place, and also, she uses. I thought it was interesting that the ambassador was really into that culture, which is not really what her people want. Like her people want to keep their independence. They don't want to be annexed by this place, and yet she's fangirling this place. So it's kind of like a
Yeah,
weird.
and that's kind of the
Really interesting.
that's the inherent problem and or conflict and or tension slash mystery in this is that,
Yeah.
she and her predecessor both are drawn to and, you know, adore and want to be a part of the the Tex the Texas look
We got this whole
culture.
tech.
To the
Ah,
Texas culture,
yeah.
but they again want to maintain their autonomy, and how do you do
Yeah.
that with this sort of, like, spreading, cultural and military conquering, create and basically, she wanted to I read an interview with the author, and she wanted to sort of encapsulate this sort of cultural absorption and, this sprawling culture taking over everything from, like, Rome and Byzantium, and
Oh
she took
yeah.
inspiration from that and also the Aztecs as well to create this very unique space, inner space culture.
Yeah, I mean, even the naming culture of this Texas empire is based
Texie.
off of the it's based off of the oh god, I'm gonna mispronounce this too, but the Oaxaca Indians, like the Mexican. That,
Texcalon. Somebody in
that,
chat
that.
is trying to help. Is it Texcalon?
Thank
Is
you.
it
Thank you.
Texcalon?
Yeah, where it's like that was their name of when they were born and then an animal sign, whereas this naming structure, everyone sounds like a fucking robot on Texas because it's like
It is
their
very, very
naming
strange.
structure their naming structure is a number plus whatever. So whatever their personality, whatever they're into, I guess, right? It
And
was pretty
we
all over
do
the
have a
place.
guide by the author that, in a couple minutes after we
I
talk about the book,
know.
we're gonna do, and we're gonna all pick out our names. So I
I know,
will give you
we
the
have
basic
to.
rules.
Yes, we have to
Yes.
do that. But
Yes.
it was funny because like is the emperor's name is like Three Direction and I kept thinking One Direction. I just pictured him
I
as Harry
know,
Styles.
Six Direction, and then
Three Direction.
her love interest is 3 Seagrass, and then her
Which is
friend
like
is 12
C3PO.
Azalea. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like C3PO is all I was thinking for Seagrass. And then
It's hard. I can't
it's hard.
that was a hard sell for me, the names.
Well, I think it's also hard for a lot of us that are really into like have grown up with Star Wars, or in my case, lived Star Wars forever and through work, but also other things like Red Dwarf and God, just name it. Like there's so many different sci-fi franchises that use numbers to name their robots. So it's like all I kept thinking was anyone with a number name was a robot. It was just I don't know. I mean, it was interesting and it was fun and it was like a kind of a different take on naming, but I just kept thinking robot.
I know, Six Direction kept making me think, and she even says, she's like, yeah, they even I have I have a thing where she and her a good friend of hers who was, Max Gladstone, they end up giving all the One Direction boys Tykes Kalani names as a preemptive self-defense. So, for the record, Martine says Harry is actually named One Direction, Zayn is One Amaryllis, Niall is One Lathe. Neil? I don't know. I don't know I don't know this band. Louis is One Silicone or maybe semiconductor, and Liam is One Expanding Insulation Foam. She also says you can consider this canon.
That's how sexy.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. And it's hard to do nicknames when you have names like that.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
So it's like, anyway, so I thought that was an interesting naming structure that they had for, I mean, obviously they don't have that on Lizelle station, but it's
no, they're all just named Jody. But here's also a thing that I had a hard time with, but I just I accepted it and then I enjoyed it about the book, that everybody was into poetry in the society, and it was very arched.
Here's the thing. I substituted in my brain to have it make more sense that it was like rap lyrics instead of poetry. So
that would be more, yes.
Right? Because I think rap is very prevalent in or even just song lyrics, right? So lyrics.
It feels more contemporary and less, it feels more relevant.
Poetry. It's interesting that she keeps saying that she based this off of Byzantine culture, when I keep thinking Russian. I mean, I know we've canceled Russia because Ukraine for obvious reasons, but Russian culture is very steeped in poetry and culture. And they also...
Well, evidently in Byzantium, they did this. They actually did have poetry competitions where people within the court...
Slams.
Oh,
yeah, all the time. But
also, I read a book...
countries did too. Sorry, I didn't mean to overtalk you.
No,
Slavic
that's okay.
countries did that as well.
Well, I will say that I read a book on Byzantium many years ago that I can't remember a lot of the details, but there are some fascinatingly A, messed up leaders, and B, incredible women / also terrible women who led Byzantine. So it's worth a dive into that history. I want to reread the book because I just forgot a lot of it because it was before my baby.
Just for the record, I do consider rap poetry. I think
yes.
Any kind of lyrical language is poetry, lyrical storytelling, so to speak. I would say that's poetry, that's prose, that's rap.
Rap is modern poetry. That's what I feel. Yeah. Rap is modern poetry. Yes.
Yeah, and it reflects but also just songs. Pop songs are like that too. Where and punk music is a great reflection of the times that you're in. It's just interesting. I think all music that have lyrical obviously music that has song lyrics to it seems to me like modern day poetry. So that's how I so when she goes to this party, there's a part in this book where she goes to, and also
I love the party scene. It's my favorite scene.
Oh my God. So I think you and I have talked about this before about how we view parties, because I have a little bit of anxiety with parties because my problem is my attention deficit kicks in and my comedy bones defense mechanism kicks in, where I'm like, okay, I'm at a party. I don't know anyone. I have to win them all over by being funny and being entertaining so I can earn my keep. And then if I read the room and no one is feeling like my humor or anything, then I find whatever pet is in the room and go towards the dog or cat and just hang out. Or I go to, like, if they have a catered bartender, like a bartender that they hired, I always hang out at the bar and just talk to the bartender the whole time. Wow. Or I just hang out at the catering table. So if I am not funny enough for the crowd and I don't win them over, I go straight to a pet or food.
See, Bonnie, that's a good tactic. I just leave. I will Irish exit. I've gone to parties, Bonnie, and I'm not even kidding. I've gone up to the host, said, "Hey, it's great to see you. I just gotta go to the bathroom. I'll see you
And they
around."
leave?
I leave.
What? I've
Yeah,
never
because I don't
seen
wanna be there. I don't kinda
okay.
wanna be
I
there.
mean, and also I think you and I go to a lot of the same types of parties because we have a lot of the same friends,
I mean,
but
those parties are fun parties. Like,
those
I mean,
parties are
those are
fun.
real friends. Those were people I
But
genuinely wanna see, yes.
I think the equivalent of what I'm talking about are after movie screener parties. You know, when you go to
Oh,
someone's
yeah.
red carpet thing and then they're like, okay, we're all meeting at this bar after our
Oh, no,
movie
that's a
thing.
no every day. I've never gone
So I
out.
think
I've
the
never
last
done an event and then done something after. That feels antithetical. We already did it.
So I think that's why I didn't see you after Seth Green's movie that he did. What was that travel movie he did?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Changeling?
yeah. Yes, the
Yeah.
Thailand one. Yes. I didn't go to the
Yeah, and then
party. I
we
don't go to
went to a
parties.
bar. Yeah, and I went with Will because Anne was out of town and Will's like, "Hey, you wanna go to this?" And I'm like, "Sure." And then we went to the party and it was awkward town. It was like
Oh,
awkward
no.
town times 10 because there were
Oh,
like
no.
actual celebrities there. And
Oh,
then it
no.
was mixed in with like people who were fans of those celebrities, but they were trying to act too cool for school around those celebrities. So
Oh,
it was just
no. Ooh, ew,
it
ew.
was just weird. It was just weird. So
No.
I and it's at a bar, so there's no pets. And like you can't get to the bartender and hang out there because everyone wants a drink. So it's like the worst kind of party when it's at
Oh.
like you know what I mean? So I was
Yeah, yeah.
so
I get you.
when I read this in the book, I'm like, ugh, like she is so into this culture, but she will never be accepted by them because she's an outsider. She's
Yeah.
from the Lizelle station. She's not one of them. And it just broke my heart so much to read that because, you know, she's watching the little poetry jam go on, but she
Yeah.
can't understand half of it because this culture, their whole culture is built upon remembering poetry and storytelling and literature, whereas her culture has tech to help them do that. They have those Imago
Yeah,
machines,
so
which we
the mystery is driven by this machine that the people on Lizelle Station get in their brains, which basically hands down knowledge and memory from your predecessors. So essentially, you can download yourself into this tech machine. They put it in your brain, and you get the old person gets absorbed into the new person, but you have their memory. So you're able to
can
carry
I
maps and knowledge. And
could I ask you a quick question about that?
yeah,
Did you get the idea that this felt a lot like the symbionts in Trill, which is the Star Trek Deep Space Nine?
I
Do you remember that?
did get yes. I vaguely was like, "There's
But those
something in
are
Star Trek
planets.
like this." And now that
Yeah,
you
it's in our
know that
planet.
yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think you're totally right, and I forgot that because I
Yeah.
love Deep Space Nine, that was my favorite. I
Well, she
think
was my favorite character because she was the first openly bisexual character,
I know.
I
I
thought,
didn't
ever
I was
in
just
the
a kid
90s.
watching it, I was like, I
Yeah.
love that
Right,
character,
in the
so
90s, it was like representation does matter when you were a bisexual girl living in Colorado, let me tell you. So when I
mhm.
saw that on Deep Space Nine, I remember her story because I thought it was so fascinating that she was part of a race of people that just were, not home
Heh
to a parasite, but basically they shared their body with another sentient being. And
yeah.
so when I was watching or reading this book, I was like, oh, it's just like that, except it's tech, which is also interesting because her tech, because she gets the ambassador's imago or whatever, and it's 15 years out of date, which I found hilarious. But
Hilarious,
also
yeah.
it breaks and it breaks.
Mhm.
So it's like
Well, it was
not
sabotage.
only
It sabotage? Did it break? That's kinda part of the mystery.
yeah, I think it was sabotage, but I would be really wary. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if you grew up, if you're born into that culture, it does you don't see the risks. But as an
Yeah.
outsider reading about this, I was like, I don't want anything mechanical in my brain that can break down.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I
to me, like
barely
I had to
go
kinda
ahead.
overcome the skepticism that, well,
Yeah.
this is okay, so because these Imago machines are basically the central driving force of the book, the mystery of who knows about it, the emperor who's dying, and the succession, after he dies is between his young clone self, kind of, um,
Uh-huh.
another fancy guy, another older woman who was the emperor's best friend, and then also this kinda upstart general, basically, and so there's this
Yeah.
war that is going on behind the scenes politically, then a real war starts, and essentially the emperor, wanted one of these machines, and the former ambassador wanted to give it to him, and that's why he was murdered, and so the whole murder is kind of a I mean, I spoiled the book, but if you're listening to the book club, you're
Well,
learning it's
yeah.
worth it to read the book because so many interesting layers, so many interesting characters, and It really was very well plotted because you didn't see it coming, other than the
Yeah.
fact that I was just skeptical that an empire this powerful wouldn't know about this technology up until this point. You wouldn't think a brain scan would discover it or whatever, you know what I'm
I
saying?
didn't
That's the one thing.
understand. Yeah, I didn't understand why the Texas Empire was so uh turning up their nose at a technology like this
Yeah. Well, they
because
didn't know
they
about it. They
have
didn't know about it.
well, here's the thing. Well, yeah, but like the idea of that they would turn their nose up at it,
Well, they they
because they
they they were so upset that they would create,
right.
an immortal being essentially in the emperor if
Well,
they
and
used
also
this
I
thing.
think somewhere in the book they kind of call them barbarians for using that kind of technology as
Yeah, that's
opposed
true,
to
you're right.
on their own instead of relying on their own intellect and their own brains, they have basically this, iPod in their head. Like it's basically just it's not an
Yeah.
iPod, but you know what I mean. Like
Well, I
they're
mean, they're
using
not even
it as
them. Who
yeah,
is this who is what is personhood?
yeah, they're using it as a crutch instead of actually using your brain. So I understand why that. But here's the thing. I didn't quite understand this hypocrisy because they have a hive mind police force
I
and
know, I know.
they have an AI city. They have a freaking AI city
Which was
where
really fascinating because you could see her urban planning background
oh yeah,
in the
the
construction of that
algorithms,
particular
subways.
thing.
Yeah. The idea
Mhm.
of algorithms running subways is fascinating to me because, but people still write algorithms unless you have AI writing AI, which is a whole different scenario. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was and also hive mind police force
I
sounds
know, it was really scary, that's really scary.
horrifying. Because what was their Carl Urban Almost Human. So remember that Carl Urban series that was short lived? It was like only one season on Fox, and it was called Almost Human,
Oh, I
and it
remember,
was a
I didn't watch
regular
it, no.
cop. Yeah, it was like a regular cop paired with a hot robot cop, and all of the meter maids, so all the parking Nazis were replaced by drones that would give out tickets. And you can't argue with a drone. And I was like, oh, they're starting to figure out how to do this in major cities right now. I know
I
in
know.
Tokyo they're doing it. Tokyo, it's all drone stuff that
Wow.
is doing speeding tickets now. And I'm like, yep, we're like a couple years away from hive mind police. And I'm just like, but then again, maybe that's a good thing because if your hive mind isn't racist, maybe
Yeah,
that's
but they've
I
already
don't know.
proven that computers have bias because the programmers have bias. So there's
Yeah, I
bias
think
against
you have
women,
to
there's
have
bias against
unracist.
people of color, like, it's already there baked
Yeah,
into the
that's
tech
true.
that we have because of the people who are making the tech. So
Yeah, yeah, and if you look into racial bias with, facial recognition, that's
oh,
also
for
fascinating.
sure. Yes,
That's
100%.
way
So
fascinating.
there's no and that's kind of what the point is, in the book, which I thought was really
Yeah,
fascinating, that there's always a human creating an algorithm. So the algorithms
yeah,
can and are inherently biased toward whoever is the one who created the algorithm, which is very, very interesting.
yeah. I mean, I really did like this book on lots of different though I will say, I am so used to murder mystery books and horror books having a lot of twists in them, and I know
Mhm,
there's twists in this book, but I think my paranoid/untrusting nature in general
mhm.
was like there three her the person that's assigned to her who's like the consultant or
Oh,
not
I
the
thought she was
consultant.
a murderer. I always thought
I
that
did
she was gonna
too.
be a
I
murderer.
did too. I thought three seagrass, which sounds like a cocktail. Come on.
Yeah,
But
I
three sea
know. I'm sorry.
I
It was hard to get over
I
the whole naming
I kept
thing.
calling I kept thinking of her as Seagram's wine cooler. I don't know why. It's just I don't know. I just kept thinking of her as a cocktail. But she's like, she's the diplomatic liaison, and I do like their friendship. I do like their sense of humor. I do like that continues on apparently in the
Yeah.
next book because this is an ongoing
Well, it's
series.
a
So I
romance.
do
I
like
mean, they got but you're
yeah.
right. It was kinda like,
Well,
"Oh, they're actually friends," and then the whole 12 Azalea thing, which w oh, poor the 3rd
ugh,
wheel got
ugh,
detached, which was so sad
ugh.
because that was one of my favorite characters.
I know. And then poof, gone. But then I will say though, the humor in this book is really fascinating and fun.
Yep.
A lot of the characters are interesting, but I did think that Seagrass was going to be a double agent. And when she just turned out to be not, I was like, oh. And then, there were certain characters where I was like, oh, that's a double agent, and they weren't. And then also at the end,
Yeah.
I'm going to spoil it, so earmuffs if you don't want it at the end. But 19 ads, which also is an unfortunate name because I just kept thinking, what?
Yeah.
19 ads is the one that basically takes over. And I was like, "Oh, that would be cool if this character had been doing all this sabotaging all the way through all the way through the book where
Yeah.
maybe, they were cuz they were there when the murder happened of the ambassador and
Mhm,
they
mhm.
also, were I don't know. I just thought that maybe that
I
was a bigger thing, and then maybe she was trying to like do something where it basically she was next in line, but she sabotaged the whole thing so she would be next in line, so the emperor would commit suicide. And I was
I
like, that
agree
would have
with you,
been much more
Bonnie,
fascinating.
because you're kind of setting up she's setting up a book where it's a mystery, and so you just expected
Yeah.
more twists and turns in the
Well, I
mystery of
expected,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
because when you
I
find
agree
out
with
who
you.
killed and why the ambassador was killed, it almost felt like an afterthought. Like it didn't
Yep.
feel like a big deal. And I was like,
I
wait a
mean, I
minute.
guess the surprise was that she helped kill him. Even though they were
Yeah.
lovers and she was loyal to the emperor and all this stuff, she basically didn't want the emperor to pervert himself by becoming an immortal in a sense. So,
Yeah.
you're right, you're
I mean, I
absolutely
don't know.
right. I agree with you, and I'm excited to read there is a sequel that she wrote. This
Yeah.
was, in I think 2 years ago, a sequel came out, or maybe it was last year. And I wanna
Uh-huh.
read it because it's basically about this so there is an external sort of enemy on the outside that the Lizelle station people know about. It's this looming, vast alien who basically doesn't mess around, they just kill anything in its path. And so
Oh yeah.
essentially, this is the big bad that's always lurking in the background, but I think the second book definitely concentrates on it more, and I really wanna see I've downloaded the second book immediately, and I just haven't gotten to it, but I definitely am reading that book this month just to see how these characters kind of does the romance continue? They go to the station. What's going on out there? Who are these other aliens through all these, where the Lizelle pilots know where they are? I'm excited to see that part of the story, but because they're always in the back of the story, but they're really not talked about.
And I think one of the deficits of this book is you don't really learn that much about Lizelle Station. So it's almost like, well,
I want
why
to
would
learn
it
more
be a
about
bad
it.
thing?
Yeah.
It's like, why would it be a bad thing if they were annexed by Texas? Because this Texas
Yeah.
culture seemed really cool and interesting. So why are they fighting it? And
I don't know.
you don't get enough info. You don't get enough culture
Yeah.
on the other side to have to be invested in
But for
keeping them
me,
in the
Bonnie, it's like when I've been to like Phuket, Thailand, and I see a KFC. It just makes me sad.
Yeah,
It
I
just makes
mean,
me sad.
it is interesting because you look at other countries. I think it's not. I mean, it was prevalent when I was a kid because of the Cold War and East Berlin and West Berlin. So you had the East Germany, West Germany thing with the wall,
Uh-huh.
and it was interesting how against they were of Western culture. And I always thought when I read this book, I was like, oh, so it's like us with Russia in the 80s, right? So like Russia wanted to keep their culture intact and not, and even the Middle East at some point also that's also religion, which I don't want to delve into, but it's,
Yeah, yeah.
they want to keep their culture intact and they don't want a McDonald's in their square. They don't want our stuff to sink into their culture because they really have a lot of pride in their own culture and they don't want it to get totally taken over. And I get
Mhm,
that. I totally understand that. But Americans haven't really had that happen because we're all from other countries
mhm.
originally. So we all came here. I mean, definitely, I would think the indigenous people probably thought that we're like, what's with these freaking pilgrims? But it's, we came here from all different countries and brought all different cultures. And that's what makes this country really interesting, I think, is all the cultures. As long as it would be great if everyone respected each other equally, but unfortunately, that's not happening. But
Yeah, no, I know.
when you
Yeah.
have a mishmash of cultures, you make your own culture out of that. Whereas this is one distinct culture versus another. There's not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I don't
No,
know.
there
I thought it was
it's
interesting.
a really good book, and like I said, if you read Anne Lakey or Likey or anyway, she has several books that are amazing. If you like this book, definitely go and grab those, or if you like those books, you'll really love this book.
Yeah.
And I'm here
By the
for it. This
way,
Mhm.
did you eat at that McDonald's in Thailand? Because sometimes they have Thailand food in the McDonald's. Like they have.
No, I have never
Oh,
okay, Bonnie, I don't eat I think the last time I had fast food was, like, 10 years ago, period.
uh-huh.
Like, a
Really?
Subway sandwich I have had, but that's about it. I have not had any
Oh, okay.
burgers or
I
anything.
still eat I still eat like a 15-year-old stoner from the Midwest, so I eat a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
fast food stuff, but, like, whenever I go to another country, I kinda like going to the McDonald's to see what their specialty
They do
items are
have some
just for
regional
that
differences,
day.
right? They'll have, like, a
Yeah.
satay sauce or something.
Oh my god, it's no, it's so different, like, I think the pizzas are more interesting, so if you go to Pizza Hut in Tokyo, they have, like, these, like, sushi pizzas that are amazing, they're so
Mhm.
good, even if you go to Japantown in San Francisco, there's a pizza place. It's called On the Bridge, and it's a pizza place. It's a manga pizza restaurant. It's really cool. You can read manga in there, and they do Japanese style pizza, which is amazing. But it's not like
Mm.
pizza's not inherent to that culture, right? So it's basically if you go to
So they
Tokyo,
kinda added
and
their
go to
own
a McDonald's,
toppings. Yeah, that's kinda interesting to see where they take something that's kind of being introduced to their culture and, like,
I mean, they'll have
where
the
the
basics.
collision happens.
Yeah, they'll have the basics like the usual McDonald's crap, but the fact that they have a menu just for that country of items in
Mhm.
McDonald's or
That is interesting.
KFC or Pizza Hut, so I mean, I like seeing that because then it's like, ooh, I wish we had that. And there's other things where I'm like, ooh, I'm glad we don't have that because I remember McDonald's trying to do Mexican food. I think they did that in the 90s and it was bad. It was
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, you
bad.
don't wanna do that. Don't try
So
it. Just don't try it.
don't try it.
Okay,
But
let's
I do encourage people if they're in foreign countries, just see what's on the menu. You don't have to order anything. Just see what's on the menu.
listen, no judgment. I have gotten past the point of judgment in my life. Whatever, as long as you're not hurting
Really?
anybody, yeah, I'm cool. Just do it. I've
That's
I've
very
become
chill of you.
I've become totally touristy. Like, I go and I'm like, "I wanna do a tour. I wanna do the
I
tourist
love
thing.
when
I'm
you
gonna go to."
do ugh, I love your Instagram. I love when you're in other
Oh,
countries
thank
and you're
you.
just like, "Hey, check this out." And I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so like, I wish you had your own travel channel show. That would be so cool."
That's my old age plan, Bonnie. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
travel and, like, nobody's gonna care, but I'm gonna do it because 'cause that'll be my excuse. It's like I'm bringing people along on a ride with
Yeah,
me,
it's like
so,
our,
yeah.
you're friends with Jessica Chobot too, right? Like,
Yeah,
you
that well,
she
they
does
moved to
that.
Amsterdam.
They moved to Amsterdam, but before that, they were doing Expedition X, which was so much fun to watch because it was like the cryptozoology tour of countries or paranormal tours of things. And so it was more like X Files meets, a tourist show, a
Uh-huh.
travel show. So it was really cool because she was doing a lot of X Filey things. But I think you would be really good at this because you tend to embrace all cultures. So you're not
I love
like
it.
you know what I mean? Like, it's fun to watch a travel show where the host is into everything. That's why I love Bourdain, because Bourdain was up for everything. Bourdain used to like Anthony Bourdain used to drink like rattlesnake whiskey in Thailand, where it was like an actual rattlesnake stuffed in a bottle of whiskey or something. Like
Oh, yeah, I
he
saw
would,
that.
and his shows were great because it talked about the cult. You learn the most about a person's culture through their food, and
Mhm. It's
which I
true, that's
found
why I
was
love
kind of
food, and that's why that's what I love, and that's what I'm sad especially when I travel to US where I see nothing but chain stores. All I wanna do is see what they do different in this
oh, no,
city, and
you
that
just always go to diners. You always go to the mom and
yeah,
pop with
diners, you're right.
anything.
Diners are really awesome in the US.
Yeah,
Diners are the best.
and the best way to
Okay,
do that is anytime you're in a taxi, ask, like, "Where's the best place to go eat such and such food?" Like, I
and
always do that
they'll
when I'm
tell you, the
traveling.
taxi or the
By the
Uber driver.
way, was it not weird that food wasn't in this book? If they're so into culture,
Yeah,
why
they
isn't
eat
food in
a lot of
Texas?
food. I guess she's not a foodie, the writer, so we'll see what they eat
I
on
don't
Zell
know.
Station. I mean, they don't have
I
they
don't
g
know.
grow inside, I don't know. Okay, so before we stop, we gotta
Okay.
pick out our Kalani names, Tykes Kalani names, okay?
Okay, give us the rules. What are the rules?
Numbers, the number part of the name is a whole integer. The range of the
Okay.
numbers is what between 1 and 100. The lower numbers are more common. Numbers from 1 to 20 are the most common. They're like Elizabeth or, Mohammed or something that's very common. Numbers 20
Uh-huh.
to 60 are more unusual, but not weird. It's like Nadia or Gabriel. 61 to 99 are less common, but, Thor, Ezekiel, things like that. Over 100 is like naming your kid Moon Unit. Okay, so that's the number. And then she actually has the meanings of 1 through 12 here. So,
Uh,
like 1 is about achievement and aggression, 4 is intellect, 5 is speed and quickness. This is all thanks to a link that one of our wonderful chat people
yeah.
put in the book club. I believe it was Cleesmel. Thank you so much, Cleesmel. So if you want to name yourself, go to this link in the Book Geeks Book Club. Okay, so that will be the number.
Okay.
And then the nouns in general, it's always a plant, an inanimate object, or a concept. Those are the order of likelihood. No animals, no self-propelled inanimate things, because you can be a boat, but not a self-driving car. They love
Okay.
flowers,
Uh-huh.
related to the natural world,
Okay, I
or
got mine. Okay, I know what
oh,
I'm
you
gonna
already
do.
got yours.
Yeah,
Okay.
you go first though. I'm curious what yours is first.
No, because now I'm looking at the meanings. Okay, here
Okay,
and
I could do this wrong though, so tell me if I'm wrong.
okay.
Uh, so the number is gonna be 13 because that's my lucky number. So
Oh, of course,
13.
yes.
Amanita muscaria, Amanita muscaria, which is the
What is that?
Latin. That's the Latin name for the hallucinogenic mushroom. It's the Alice in Wonderland. It's the Alice in Wonderland mushroom. That's like I'm assuming fungi counts as a plant, not an animal.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But it's it's the red cap with the white dots. That mushroom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Amanita muscaria. And I always thought, I mean, this is crazy because I don't have kids. I don't even have pets. I guess I can name my
Mhm.
plants names. I haven't done that in a while. But I always thought it was a pretty sounding name. So like
Mhm.
Amanita muscaria sounds almost like
It's
I mean, it's
beautiful.
Latin, but it sounds pretty.
I love it.
But it's
That's the best name I could have thought of. Okay,
yeah.
that's beautiful,
Okay,
Bonnie,
that's
I
great.
love it.
Okay, well,
Mine would be
thank you.
19 because 19 is my lucky number,
Cool.
and I immediately thought of if I was gonna do something like I wasn't drawn as much to a concept, but I just love sunrise. I love the colors. I
Oh,
love the possibility of it. So I think 19 sunrise would mean even though I don't have, like, something super intellectual behind it, I think I'm gonna go with that.
I like that.
Yeah, 19 sunrise. I don't know, I like it. Although I do like dahlias too, so that was the flower I would pick. That's my
Hmm.
favorite flower. But then there was like, "Oh, should I do a math thing? So should I be 19e, which is like the infinite number, but not pi, like the cooler infinite number," you know what I'm saying? Or I,
Oh,
19I is the irrational,
wow.
the square root of a negative number, which would be kind of fun and like quirky.
Yeah, I mean, you can even go even further and have your number be 8, but put it on its side so it was an infinity symbol,
Oh, yes.
right?
I love it.
And then
See?
also, if I was going super goth and not hippy dippy, I'm just
Mhm.
feeling hippy dippy today, so that's why Amanita muscaria is what I picked.
I
I would
love
have
it.
done, I would have done either that or 13 hemlock because that
Oh,
sounds very
Hemlock is
cool,
cool. That's a cool name for a kid, Hemlock, or a dog.
right?
That's
Yeah,
a really cool name.
I think hemlock. I mean, I always run it through the bully test. Does
Mhm.
your name is it bully proof? Because I mean, some of
Yeah,
my
well.
favorite names are not bully proof. Like Atticus. Are you kidding?
Mhm.
That's like ass kiss. That's just like
Yeah,
three
ass
like
kiss is
somebody
not
called
good.
ass kiss, right? So there's certain names that I love, like Mordecai.
Oh,
How many
that's really
kids do
good.
here's the thing, like when you watch old black and white movies, like especially noir or mystery movies, always read the credits like that happen. Usually they have the credits roll before a movie, not after.
Yeah.
At that time period, but all the names of the people that worked. Like how many kids do you know named Edith or
Oh, yeah.
Marjorie or Madge
Mhm,
or
mhm.
Humphrey or
Yeah.
like those old school names. So
They're
I love
old
the more
school, which are almost cool, like Hazel used to be like
oh,
Hazel's really
love
cute. I
Hazel.
love Rowan. Rowan is my favorite name. Like, if
Oh,
I was
so
gonna
good.
have another kid, it would be Rowan.
But I do like this idea of the number and a plant. That could be a cool naming system
I
for
think
a
I
kid.
like it. I just don't know about the
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's hard to read and take seriously, but once you get over that, you just
Well,
accept it. It's really fun. It's actually really fun.
I mean, it's no crazier than naming your kid Apple or
Nope.
Blue.
There's nothing wrong with
I
anything. Just name I again, no judgment. Do what you need to do. Okay,
I
Bonnie, what's our
mean,
next you are picking
oh
a
yeah.
book next month. It's October, and I said you gotta pick a
Okay.
horror book. What is it?
So I had two that I was choosing from. I'm not going to tell you what the other book is in case I want to choose it later on.
Yep, yep,
So
yep.
I'm picking the book that I think is most Halloweeny for
Mm,
us since it's in
okay.
October. It's called Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesare.
I love it.
Do you want me to read the premise real quick so
Yes,
people
read
can
the
get
pun. Everybody is
okay.
freaking out in the chat.
Okay, good. It's Quinn Maybrook just wants to make it till graduation. He might not make it to morning. Quinn and her father moved to tiny, boring Kettle Springs to find a fresh start. But ever since the Baypin corn syrup factory shut
Oh,
down,
no. Oh,
Kettle
no.
Springs has cracked in half. On one side are the adults who are desperate to make Kettle Springs great again. On the other side are the kids who want to
Oh,
have
no.
fun, make prank videos, and get out of Kettle Springs as quick as they can. Kettle Springs is caught in a battle between old and new, tradition and progress. It's a fight that looks like it will destroy the town until Friendo, the Bay Pin mascot, a creepy clown in a pork pie hat, goes homicidal and decides that the only way for Kettle Springs to grow back is to cull the rotten crop of kids who live there now.
Wow.
Oh, oh. It
Okay.
has all the elements that is scary.
So just a question before we're not going to get into it, but is this a parody or is it a real book?
The real book.
Okay, great.
It's not a Pennywise situation. I'm
Okay.
going to put that out there because I don't want people thinking this is a supernatural Pennywise, Stephen King, kind of thing. This is a classic slasher, like a teen slasher horror film.
Mhm.
I've read it, and I'm reading the second book in the series. There's a sequel, in case you want to keep reading it. It's
Right.
very
Great.
creepy. It's
Okay,
very
okay.
creepy. Clowns are creepy to me, but I also grew up in the Midwest where we had corn mazes for Halloween, and those are also creepy. And there's a whole genre. I mean, as you know, in horror films, there's a genre of horror films that just are about clowns. But
Mhm.
there's also a growing genre of horror films about being lost in corn mazes and being killed, or like Into the Grass, the Deep Grass, or whatever is kind of like that. The Joe
Mm.
Hill, Joe Hill, yeah, that's Joe. It's on Netflix. Just look it up. But
Okay.
anything
Well,
that's like you're lost in a maze like that. I mean, ever since The Shining, I think that's always creeped me out as a kid. But we had them as kids, so like I grew up on a farm, and whoever had harvested first and had the biggest farm would do a huge intricate labyrinth slash maze, and it would be Halloween time because that's when harvest is done. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
here's the thing: I don't know if you've ever run through a cornfield, but those are sharp plants and they cut deep. So it's not like frolicking in the grass. It's like if you run through corn after harvest, it's really sharp. Like it's pretty
Mhm.
dangerous. So, but it's also
All right.
creepy. And they do these things
I'm
at night.
excited. I've never
Mhm.
really read I want to admit I've never really read a creepy book. I've never gotten through a Stephen King book except for Dark Tower.
Are you
But
serious?
oh,
Oh, I hope
Bonnie, I
I'm
don't
not
like
really.
horror.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. Okay, well, I hope. Here's the thing. I don't. It is kind of. I guess it's a YA book,
Okay,
so it's
good.
not going
So
to be.
it'll be softer. It's
Mhm.
not like Saw.
Well,
We're
I
not s
hate saying it's going to be softer because I've been reading a lot of YA lately that is not soft.
yeah.
Like if you watch Fear Street on Netflix, that's supposed to be
Ugh.
teen. It is not. That is a gruesome series on
Nope.
Netflix.
Nope.
Like if you
Not
want some
doing it.
bloody murders, like full on. Like I'm not gonna spoil it. There's just a lot of murders that happen ugh, in a restaurant. It's just like
No.
the kitchen murder. Anyway,
Let's say no to that.
I will say this book is creepy just on the clown part alone.
Okay.
But there's no supernatural whatever. It's just strictly a slasher. But it's fun. It's a fun read. I liked it. And I
All
think for
right.
Halloween it's perfect. Perfect
We're
for
good.
Halloween.
All right. Well, I can't wait. And thank you very much for helping us pick out something creepy because I had nothing. Um,
I mean, I'm going through a lot of horror lately, so I can anytime you want horror and just pick any kind of genre in horror, I've got the book for.
all
And
right.
also, if we ever want to read horror manga, so I don't
Oh,
know
that'd
if
be
we,
interesting. I would let have
I,
you know what, we should
yeah,
do that for November and December. We should do
yeah.
some,
So,
graphic novels and manga.
You know Itu, who's a famous Japanese writer and illustrator for manga, horror manga specifically. In fact, there's a movie called Spiral, I think on Amazon Prime, that's based on one of his manga. Is just brilliant. Like that manga's
Mm,
crazy manga
I
though. It's
can't wait.
really weird. Yeah.
All
But
right.
yeah,
Well,
thanks for
thanks a lot,
letting me.
Bonnie. Everybody read
Yeah, thanks
along
for
with
letting
us, and I will be all your podcast listeners who are listening. Thank you so much. If you want to listen live, you can
me.
listen on the last Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday of the month. We will be back. Let me look at the exact date. We're going to be back and reading the
Oh
Clown in
yeah.
the Cornfield. I assume it'll be the 25th of October.
Okay. Oh, that's
All
cool. Oh,
right.
that's awesome.
I know.
Yeah,
All right.
I think
Thanks a lot, you
you'll
guys.
be good. And if
Bye.
you want to ask me any clown questions, I'm always on social media.
Yeah, get up and Bonnie. Oh, don't have people ask you about clowns, please. Stop it.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm
I'm
just
worried for you.
lonely. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Bye.
Bye.